ask everybody either take your seats or continue your conversations elsewhere, as we really do need to get started. Shh. It works. Okay. A very warm welcome back. So in our first session today, we heard about the importance of social enterprises, of social businesses, not just for meeting societal challenges, but also for a vibrant and growing economy. We also heard how this phenomenon is gathering momentum, not just in Europe, but right across the world. And we began to hear some ideas for issues that need to be tackled now, barriers and obstacles that need to be addressed. We're going to build on that now in this session, which is entitled Taking Stock, EU-level policies and concrete examples of social entrepreneurship. And I have with me here the three commissioners responsible for coordinating work on the Social Business Initiative and three social entrepreneurs. And I should stress that our three social entrepreneurs have been invited here today specifically and personally by the commissioners to join this conversation. So we are very grateful to you all for being here. Let me introduce them. First of all, Antonio Tajani, European Commission Vice President responsible for enterprise and industry, who invited along Giuseppe Guerini, who is President of Feder Solidarietà Cooperative, which is the main national federation for social cooperatives in Italy. He's also President of Ecosviluppo, which is a social enterprise dealing with ecology and waste with the aim of placing disadvantaged workers. Furthermore, he's a member of the European Economic and Social Committee and a member of the Commission's expert group on social entrepreneurship, better known to many of you as JASIS. Commissioner Barnier, Internal Market and Services Commissioner Barnier, with Letizia Moratti, who is President of San Patrignano Foundation, which works to support young people with serious problems linked to drug addiction by providing a home, legal help, medical help, opportunities to study and learn so that they can get a job. Welcome to you. And last but not least, Laszlo Andor, the European Commissioner for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, who is with Olga Theodoriakou, I hope I pronounced that okay, Olga, who is from Climax Plus in Greece, which works to integrate people with mental disorders and psychosocial problems, and it also focuses a lot on capacity building for a social enterprise ecosystem. That word we have already heard several times, so I hope we can also talk about that. As you know, this is the Have Your Say session, so we're going to start by letting our social entrepreneurs have their say. I've asked each of them to make just a very short statement, a couple of minutes, just to talk a little bit about what they do and the importance of it and what they need from policymakers. We've also got a little video we're going to show you, and then I will invite the commissioners to react. But this session, very much a conversation between the commissioners and our social entrepreneurs. So Giuseppe, perhaps I could ask you to start us off just with a little statement about why this issue is so important and what you think the key things we need to address are. Over to you.
Bene, grazie a tutti, grazie Jackie, ringrazio i commissari per questa iniziativa davvero molto importante. Io sono molto lieto della vostra presenza qui e soprattutto della possibilità di raccontare l'esperienza delle imprese sociali cooperative italiane che hanno realizzato in questi anni obiettivi molto importanti. Negli ultimi 10 anni 115% di occupazione in più realizzata dalle cooperative sociali italiane, che occupano ad oggi 365.000 lavoratori. Solo questo dato ci dice del perché è importante che in Europa prestiamo attenzione a questa modalità particolare di fare impresa che riesce a coniugare l'efficacia dell'attività imprenditoriale con i risultati di tipo sociale e quindi riesce a fare economia attraverso l'utilizzo anche di risorse umane che altrimenti verrebbero disperse. Quindi da questo punto di vista è un sistema di fare economia che non possiamo permetterci di non utilizzare, proprio perché la crisi di questi anni ci ha insegnato che dobbiamo valorizzare tutte le risorse e ci ha insegnato anche che la dimensione sociale, l'intervento nella cura delle relazioni, nella costruzione di equità e di maggiore giustizia sociale è uno strumento fondamentale per garantire anche la crescita e lo sviluppo. Quindi stiamo dimostrando che è possibile rovesciare quel concetto che ha accompagnato il Novecento, e cioè prima si realizza la ricchezza, prima si fanno crescere le imprese, poi c'è l'intervento dello Stato che redistribuisce queste risorse. Noi stiamo dimostrando che è possibile realizzare l'equità sociale nel momento stesso in cui si costruisce la ricchezza.
Grazie mille, thank you so much. So that importance, as you say, for the economy as a whole, and using that human capital, I know something we will come back to in the discussion. Letizia Morati, an opening thought from you, if you would.
Well, I represent San Patrignano. San Patrignano is a social enterprise which started more than 30 years ago and is working on the field of prevention and rehabilitation and reinsertion into society for drug-addicted people. It's a true example of a social enterprise, meaning that the help that is given there, it's also a help that allows people to have a full recovery into society through learning a job and practicing a job. So it is a social enterprise. And I believe that in these years, with the head of the state support that is decreasing due to the social and economic crisis, and due to the fact that the social services need to be more and more increased because of aging of population and many other factors, I think that the social enterprise is one very important answer to the need of giving social services in a national framework that is decreasing support. For that reason, I believe that the European Union and Commissioner Barnier initiative on the business social initiative is crucial for a sector which in Italy is a growing sector with growing numbers in terms of GDP and in terms of occupation in a moment where, employment is decreasing in Italy. So I welcome this, the opportunity to discuss about how to support all the business social initiative in the framework of Europe and at the national level.
Okay, so thank you very much. So a lot of you say 30 years. You were one of the pioneers in this area, now gathering momentum. A lot has been achieved, lots more to do. We'll come back to that in the discussion. But Olga, from your perspective, and from Greece, obviously a country, as we heard from the Prime Minister's words earlier, and as we all know, facing difficult times. But what for you are the most important issues you'd like to highlight today?
At first, I would like to say that I represent Climax Plus. Climax means scale or ladder. It's a metaphor that evokes the image of personal development and systemic development for getting out of exclusion. Climax Plus aims to develop sustainable and viable business activities in the field of social and green economy in order to enhance the social participation and social rehabilitation of people with mental disorders and people from socially disadvantaged groups. We have an explicit and primary social aim, the development of human and social capital. The discovery of social entrepreneurial dynamics in Greece primarily has arisen as a response to unsuccessful structures and to needs that have not been met adequately or have not been met at all by the state or business. It is clear, and I believe this the initiative of the Commission is giving stress to that if social innovation is not the key factor, is not the key element of the sector's development, we continue to reflect past rather than present, moreover future, the effects, the efforts and the aspirations will be jeopardized.
Okay, so that crucial role, very much echoing there what Commission President Barroso said in his message to us about without the innovation we can't do it. Before I give the Commissioners a chance to respond, as I mentioned at the beginning, we do want to bring in one more perspective from a social business on the ground, and we're going to show you a video again. It's from Greece. It's a group of women in Greece who have formed an anti-crisis cooperative. So Commissioners, we'll hear from you in a minute, but before we do, let's watch that video. If we can. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have the technology for that video? If not, I can come back to it a little bit later. Okay, I tell you what we'll do. I will give the Commissioners a chance to react. I would like to bring it into the discussion as soon as possible because it's very interesting, but let us move on for now. But Commission Vice President, if I could turn to you first and just ask you, really, we're talking here about taking stock. Before we can talk about where we go, we need to talk about what we've achieved. 2 years ago, the three of you launched this very ambitious agenda, the Social Business Initiative. What for you are the most important achievements and the most important challenges that we face now to build on what we've done?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Good morning, everybody. Bonjour à vous tous. Buenos días a todos. Buongiorno a tutti. Because it's possible to speak in my mother tongue, I will speak in Italian. I am a multilingual supporter for this. I prefer when it's possible to speak in my mother tongue. Io credo che sia molto importante che la Commissione Europea si sia data già da qualche anno un percorso da seguire per sostenere questo settore che è importante sia dal punto di vista sociale sia dal punto di vista imprenditoriale. È uno dei pochi settori che nonostante la crisi è riuscito a veder crescere il numero degli imprenditori. Sono cresciute le cooperative sociali che operano in Europa. Questo vuol dire che nel momento della difficoltà, nel momento del bisogno, c'è necessità di aggregarsi, c'è necessità di lavorare assieme anche per dare delle prospettive di lavoro a chi è più debole. Non è secondario che per esempio nel mio paese di origine, in Italia, le cooperative sociali diano lavoro a migliaia e migliaia di ex tossicodipendenti, di disabili, di ex detenuti, e questo significa che si può dare una seconda opportunità a chi nella vita ha avuto meno fortuna o chi ha commesso qualche errore. Bisogna sempre dare una seconda chance. Ma io credo che sia importante oggi anche informare su ciò che stiamo facendo insieme. Non è un caso che ci siano 3 commissari oggi presenti, perché il lavoro che la Commissione fa per sostenere questo comparto è un lavoro orizzontale. Il commissario all'industria, il commissario al mercato interno, il commissario poi responsabile più delle politiche sociali e del lavoro. Abbiamo, lo ha ricordato Barroso nel corso del suo intervento, anche dato vita ad un premio per valorizzare le imprese sociali. Ma non è tutto, abbiamo creato, attraverso la mia direzione generale, anche una piattaforma per mettere in contatto le diverse cooperative sociali, perché queste possano veramente aiutarsi una con l'altra. Sono già 5.000 le cooperative sociali che fanno parte di questa piattaforma. Di più, abbiamo dato vita anche a un gruppo di lavoro per studiare come poter invogliare i giovani già nelle scuole a diventare imprenditori che si occupano dell'imprenditoria sociale. E poi vorrei dare un annuncio. Il giorno 22 si concluderà il lavoro dell'analisi di impatto sulla questione delle mutue. Dal giorno successivo darò incarico ai giuristi di esaminare il risultato del lavoro e appena ottenuto il parere positivo da parte dei giuristi elaborerò una proposta legislativa per dar vita allo Statuto europeo delle mutue, un testo che presenterò. Ils ont compris, poi je peux le dire aussi en langue française. je suis en train de préparer ce texte.
It's okay, we have interpretation.
OK, fantastique.
It works. So,
Comme c'est un thème très intéressant, très important pour la France. Donc.
so very crucial there, you mentioned the regulatory environment, which has already come up. That obviously a very important aspect. And this question of providing jobs, I'm sure that Commissioner Andor will want to talk to this, not just about integrating workers, but creating new jobs. Perhaps a thought from you on that. But first, Commissioner Barnier, I know you're very passionate about social entrepreneurship. Your first thoughts on what's been achieved, particularly in the last 2 years, and what you would highlight as the things we need to build on most, s'il vous plaît.
D'abord, bonjour à chacune et chacun d'entre vous et merci de participer à ce grand rendez-vous de Strasbourg. Merci aussi aux élus de cette région, de la ville de Strasbourg, du Comité économique et social, aux parlementaires européens d'être là pour ce rendez-vous qui n'est pas un moment d'autosatisfaction à aucun moment, mais plutôt l'occasion de faire le bilan de ce que nous avons fait ensemble, avec vous, souvent, sous votre impulsion, les 3 commissaires qui sont ici, et de ce que nous devons faire dans les temps qui viennent. Mesdames, Messieurs, qu'est-ce que c'est qu'un commissaire européen? Sûrement pas un technocrate bruxellois. Dans mon esprit, c'est un homme, une femme politique qui a forcément des convictions, si je comprends bien le mot de politique, et qui a le pouvoir d'agir pour faire des lois, pour faire des règlements au niveau européen, pour proposer des politiques, pour orienter des programmes financiers, notamment à travers les fonds structurels. Nous avons cette conviction. Je vais même essayer de la traduire en 2 points que j'ai souvent dit parce que c'est au cœur de mon engagement personnel. Il n'y a pas de performance économique durable sans cohésion sociale dans l'entreprise et dans la société. Et ma deuxième conviction, notre deuxième conviction, c'est que si la principale bataille aujourd'hui est bien celle de l'emploi, de la compétitivité, alors pour gagner cette bataille, chaque citoyen est nécessaire, chaque entreprise est nécessaire, chaque territoire est nécessaire. Et quand on a ces 2 convictions, on tombe sur vous, on tombe sur le secteur de plus en plus important, comme Laetitia l'a dit. Une entreprise sur 4 qui se crée est une entreprise qui a cette dimension, entreprise sociale, de l'économie solidaire. Et donc, voilà pourquoi, ensemble, Antonio, Laszlo et moi-même, et nos collaborateurs, nous avons choisi, en arrivant à la Commission, il y a à peine 4 ans, février 2010, pour la première fois de remonter ce sujet, ce secteur, en haut de l'agenda européen. Ça a été notre rôle, parce que nous avions cette conviction. Et c'est comme ça qu'est née cette première stratégie pour l'entrepreneuriat social, une première conférence auquel certains d'entre vous ont participé, et un certain nombre de mesures que nous avons proposées à ceux qui décident, c'est-à-dire aux députés européens et aux ministres. Et voilà comment est né, par exemple, le premier véhicule pour le fonds d'investissement dans l'entrepreneuriat social, qui est maintenant voté. Voilà comment est né le changement majeur, je réponds à votre question, sur les marchés publics, qui a été voté hier par plus de 630 députés, définitivement. Ça a été 2 ans de boulot pour simplifier les règles de marché public, rendre accessibles les appels d'offres aux PME qui avaient tellement de paperasse à remplir qu'elles étaient dissuadées de participer aux PME, et puis qualifier les marchés publics, sécuriser le mieux-disant, le cycle tout au long du produit ou du service, le mieux-disant social, écologique ou innovateur. Et nous allons, le statut de la Fondation européenne, et j'étais très heureux, vraiment, je remercie beaucoup Antonio de faire avancer ce statut de la mutuelle européenne, qui n'est pas seulement importante, Jackie, pour la France, mais dans beaucoup d'autres pays. Voilà, maintenant, le moment est de faire le bilan, de voir si cet écosystème, c'est ça qu'on attend de nous, de créer l'écosystème favorable aux entreprises sociales et à l'économie solidaire, comme d'ailleurs aux autres secteurs plus traditionnels de l'entreprise et de l'économie, et puis voir dans ce rendez-vous de Strasbourg ce qu'on peut mettre à l'agenda pour les 5 prochaines années.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Commissioner Andor, I thought we've heard already a lot about human capital, Giuseppe, using the human resources we have. We've also talked about the crisis. Some words from you on what you think the achievements to date are, where we go from here, and perhaps if you could, in the context of the crisis, not just in terms of the social challenges, but perhaps more broadly in terms of the changes in society that we need, the fundamental reform.
Well, first of all, let me also say it's a pleasure to be part of this event, and together with Antonia and Michel, with whom we worked so much and so hard and in perfect understanding in this area in order to promote social enterprise and the social economy in Europe, and especially in this period of a very long financial and economic crisis, with all the social consequences which we know about. We had to ensure that a growth potential of the European economy is also improved by enhancing the growth potential of the social economy, especially in countries affected by the financial crisis. And my hero comes from Greece. But it's not only about Greece, it also is about other countries where in the last 3 years unemployment increased tremendously. The recession lasted much longer than it would have been acceptable. And we wanted to ensure that expanding the social economy and the room for social enterprise is a part of the solution. It is a part of the way out of this crisis. Now that requires, as Michel just said, an ecosystem, a more favorable environment. That's why we helped the Greek authorities to develop appropriate legislation, which is also capable of using the EU funds in greater extent than in the past. That's primarily the social fund, but also the regional development fund. And I should also mention the smaller instrument, the Progress Microfinance Facility, which is so important for small and micro enterprise. And we had to ensure that the new financial period, which we are just starting now, will preserve and boost this financial capacity of the structural and investment funds and the other smaller financial instruments. I think we can say that we achieved this. We are starting this new period with a stronger financial capacity, but I very much agree with you that money alone is not the solution. You also need people who are entrepreneurial, who see the necessity of innovation, and to start a new period, to build a new model. And we also have to use examples like you are providing to inspire other countries. Indignation is justified after these long years of crisis, but it's not enough. We need to have inspiration and promote the good models which are available.
Thank you very much indeed. And I'm going to follow up on those questions in a moment. And also, commissioners, if you have any questions for our social entrepreneurs, and social entrepreneurs, anything you want to put to the commissioners. But I believe we can now see that video. So let's give it a go and watch the video before we come back to the discussion.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Planet. We're in Syros, in the Cyclades, in Greece. The country is 6 years into a recession with a record unemployment rate of 27.6%. Here, a group of women have come together and formed an anti-crisis cooperative. Take a look. Every day, 20 women, most of whom have no particular qualifications, prepare traditional Greek dishes that are sold in downtown restaurants. Since 2000, the money made by the cooperative has restored a local monastery and kitchens have been installed. What remains unsold is distributed to charities. The turnover of around €400,000 a year has dropped slightly during the crisis, but the jobs remain intact.
Because of the crisis, many of our members came to work in the cooperative because their husbands lost their jobs. Here, the wages are around 20% higher than in the private sector.
deal with the crisis, the cooperative outlined a business strategy and continues to attract large numbers of clients.
The cooperative has adapted to the situation. For example, we've reduced our prices to €1 per portion at the request of the unions. We've also introduced a loyalty system and offer small gifts to our customers.
1 in 4 new businesses created in the EU is a social enterprise. Why are they so popular? Let's ask the specialist. The European Confederation of Cooperatives represents close to 50,000 companies employing 1.4 million people with a turnover of €50 billion a year. In difficult times, social entrepreneurship is vital.
The very strength of social enterprises lies to their non-commitment to banking loans. The second thing is that there can be a shared contribution of capital in many kinds, not only in money. The third thing is that social enterprises are very elastic in the local level.
Social entrepreneurship is one way out of the Greek crisis, and it's a growth sector.
In general figures, the sectoral GDP of cooperatives in Greece is about €1.5 billion. In fact, this is rising in comparison to a national GDP which is declining due to the crisis.
For us, the keys to success are we love what we do, we focus on quality products, and we don't give up at the first hurdle.
Okay, so more inspiration there from that Greek cooperative. I just want to come right back to sort of where we started, and Commissioner Tajani talked about the fact that this is a sector that has grown even during the crisis. And I wonder, so we're clearly doing something right. But my question to you all really is, as we take stock and we hear about the achievements so far, are there lessons that we can identify about what really works in terms of supporting and encouraging the development of social enterprises? And how close are we now to that ecosystem that so many of you have talked about already? Do we have key lessons that we can learn about what social entrepreneurs need to do, but also how policymakers can support them? Any thoughts on that? Commissioner Tajani first, please.
Io credo che una delle cose più importanti che emerge dal lavoro di queste imprese sia il loro essere forte elemento di innovazione. Noi sosteniamo la competitività delle imprese anche aiutando attraverso le prospettive finanziarie l'innovazione, spingiamo ad innovarsi. Ma direi che le cooperative sociali sono anche un modello naturale di innovazione, cioè si auto-innovano perché camminano insieme ai bisogni della società. E questo credo che sia molto importante, sia anche un insegnamento per chi poi deve avere una politica industriale basata sull'innovazione. Ecco, proprio perché noi investiremo molti soldi nelle prossime prospettive finanziarie con Horizon 2020 per l'innovazione, ci sarà spazio anche per l'innovazione legata alle cooperative sociali. Guardiamo con grande interesse questo essere protagoniste delle innovazioni e portatrici di un messaggio naturale di innovazione alle cooperative sociali. Questo mi pare un elemento chiave in questo dibattito e anche che aiuta noi a lavorare per la crescita dell'intero comparto imprenditoriale.
Grazie, thank you very much. Commissioner Barnier, in the Social Business Initiative, 3 key barriers were highlighted, and many of them have been mentioned. Marguerite talked about them in her presentation: the lack of access to finance, lack of visibility, and the regulatory environment, and we heard something relating to that earlier, and you referred to the MEPs yesterday, and public procurement, another key step. What for you are the lessons you take from these first 2 years, just over 2 years, of the Social Business Initiative? And do you think we are close to that ecosystem, or is there a lot more that needs to be done?
On avait fixé ces 3 chantiers. L'environnement réglementaire, on l'a fait bouger, j'ai parlé des marchés publics. On a créé ce fonds d'investissement pour l'entrepreneuriat social qui correspond à une sorte de passeport dans l'ensemble du marché unique pour orienter des investissements financiers vers l'économie sociale. Et il y a des demandes, il y a des besoins. Le statut de la mutuelle, le statut de la fondation. Et on va voir si ça suffit et nous sommes prêts à prendre d'autres initiatives. La visibilité, c'est peut-être le chantier le plus compliqué parce que, mesdames et messieurs, tout ne viendra pas de Bruxelles s'agissant de l'économie sociale et solidaire, comme d'ailleurs dans d'autres domaines. On ne veut pas tout demander à Bruxelles, il y a les États, il y a les régions, les collectivités locales. Demandez-nous de créer cet écosystème européen utile, mais qui respecte, quand on parle d'innovation, on ne parle pas d'uniforme, on parle précisément venant du terrain, en bottom-up, on parle de toutes sortes d'initiatives qui sont différentes les unes des autres selon les sujets, les secteurs et les pays. Donc ce n'est pas toujours facile de faire des lois européennes ou des règles européennes qui s'appliquent partout efficacement. Moi je pense qu'aujourd'hui le vrai défi, au-delà des règles, de la visibilité, de ce qu'on est en train de faire sur la photographie de ce que représentent les différentes formes d'économie sociale pour trouver les bons labels, et c'est un sujet complexe, je pense que le vrai problème maintenant c'est le financement. Pas seulement pour l'entreprise sociale, mais aussi pour toutes les entreprises. C'est aussi pourquoi, mesdames et messieurs, il était si important de remettre de l'ordre, de la transparence, je me permettrai de dire un peu de morale et d'éthique aussi, là où elles avaient disparu, dans les marchés financiers. J'ai présenté 28 lois de régulation financière. Hier matin, on a encore voté, trouvé un accord définitif sur la régulation des marchés financiers. Et tout cela permet, je pense, de remettre ces marchés financiers au service de l'économie réelle, c'est-à-dire en grande partie de ces secteurs de l'entreprise sociale. Mais je suis attentif à trouver les bonnes règles européennes pour donner les meilleures chances aux nouvelles formes de financement. Je vais sans doute proposer, dans le cadre du suivi du livre vert sur les financements de long terme, la création d'un livret d'épargne européen, avec des garanties fiscales et de stabilité pour collecter l'épargne privée et l'orienter dans certains secteurs, entreprises sociales, innovation ou PME. Je viens de lancer un exercice pour voir quelle est la bonne régulation sur le crowdfunding.
Oui.
Je suis attentif à ce qui se passe de plus en plus sur le terrain à travers des monnaies locales. Voilà où l'Europe peut être utile. Demandez-nous de bâtir des règles qui peuvent être utiles pour sécuriser, favoriser, ne pas décourager. Et je pense que les secteurs que je viens de citer sont parmi les plus importants.
Thank you. Perhaps we can come back to perhaps one of the challenges in terms of access to finance. Investors who may perceive this as a riskier area, as a low profit area, when in fact there are examples of people who've made a very good business case. A thought from you on key lessons learned, and then I would like our social entrepreneurs to be as critical as you can in terms of lessons learned and support. And we're talking about the EU context, but also in the national context. What do you guys need now to build on what you've done? But Commissioner, a thought from you first on the lessons to date.
Yes, if I can just add one more aspect, that's the importance of education and training also in this area. Spreading the knowledge which exists but doesn't exist everywhere equally, and that's why it's important that we contribute also to this. We published a booklet about the social economy and social enterprise, not only in the main working languages of the Commission, but translated it to Greek, especially to help Greece and also Cyprus to develop this sector, because the needs are indeed the greatest there. But also there are initiatives which we saw in the video. We have to take into account the diversity and the different traditions across the European countries. There are examples, and in some countries quite wide social economy sectors, but there are also other countries, especially in the part of Europe where I come from, where there is sometimes hesitation. The whole concept is not necessarily appealing to everybody. There is skepticism which we need to overcome. We have to explain the merits of the social enterprise and also the capacity that, in fact, this sector was a lot more resilient at the time of the recession to keep employment, to keep jobs, as opposed to companies which only look at the short-term profit. And they were very easily and quickly downsizing employment at the time of the recession. So we have
visibility, therefore, that's one of the central pillars of the Social Business Act. For you, absolutely crucial. You have to prove, show that it works and raise awareness of how much it's contributing. Thoughts, if I could... Oh. Suddenly. 1, 2, 1, 2. I've gone from nothing. Hang on a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the technology, I think. 1, 2, 1, 2. Does the microphone work? Ah. Or I shall shout very loudly, but then the interpreters will not hear me. Make microphone. Voila, my headset is working again. Apologies for frightening you all to death. As I say, thoughts from you now in terms of the lessons learnt and whether you believe this ecosystem now is in the making, or are there big things that we are overlooking? Who would like to come in first? Letizia, then Olga, and then Giuseppe. Letizia first.
Well, there is one lesson I think that we really need to learn, and it's what was referring Commissioner Barnier before. The high-risky products, financial products, and there are interesting studies, European studies, that show that the high-risk products, financial products, have increased on the year 2003 to 2009 to 15 to 55% of the whole financial system, while the less risky products have decreased from 65 to 25. So this is one of the problems that had created from the financial crisis to the real economy. Now we have to have another circle, virtuous circle in this case, which is opposite to the one we had. Therefore, I believe that this is the lesson that we have to learn, and what we have to do now is exactly what the Commission and Europe is doing, thanks to the work of the three commissioners that are studying on this, is to have the financial system to be more directed towards social enterprises, or to economy which is, has also a social positive impact.
And do you believe that change, because the discourse has changed, do you believe that that change is coming about anyway, that society is looking at this issue differently now to maybe before the crisis began?
Not everywhere. I think that certainly the directives that have been approved by the Commission and the European Parliament have been very important in this, so the one that have been mentioned. The regulatory system is also very important, and there have been a lot of improvement, but as the commissioners were saying, it's not that everything can be done by Europe and from Europe. So at the national level, we have to also be involved and try to enhance our regulatory system in order to create a national ecosystem which is favorable to the social enterprise. I just want to add one other point. It's not just about innovation. It's also about the fact that social enterprises, they're not always working on innovation, because some of them, they are working in the same area since many, many years, and they do the same things since many, many years. But it's about the fact that almost all social enterprises, that they anticipate the needs of society. This is the kind of innovation which I think is the right one to help and to sustain.
Thank you.
But I think we can come back on that later. What I would believe it's important from now on is to give to social enterprises and to the stakeholders and to national countries a certain perimeter where they have to work. So try to, from Europe, to give incentive to public-private partnership, to profit and non-profit involvement in order to create this ecosystem that it cannot be done only by social enterprises or only by policymakers. So
as you say, public-private partnerships, also public procurement, that sort of area, those sorts of areas, very crucial for you. Olga, I mentioned at the beginning, the Climax Plus works on capacity building as well. What for you are the lessons that we've learnt to date? And how close are we, do you think, individually in countries and across Europe as a whole, in building the ecosystem we need?
Climax Plus has seen as a reference model in Greece in the field of social economy and green economy. We also see something that has just arisen from our experience, that our employees themselves coming from socially excluded groups, meaning they're homeless people, ex-prisoners, Roma, people with mental disorders, serve as role models for their communities, inspiring this way their micro-societies to go into the same path. My country now faces a radical transformation in the governance model at all levels. So what we need from the Commission is to increase your efforts in highlighting the role of social entrepreneurship, and that it is an integral element even for the structural reforms and for and to achieve employment and social cohesion, which is so much needed in Greece. What the Commission could also initiate a wider debate regarding solidarity, especially in Southern Europe, where the problem of unemployment, in youth unemployment, especially in poverty, is rising, and act as a facilitator for assistance and solidarity assistance between social economy actors and national counterparts. We expect that the Commission teams up also with the relevant ministries and stakeholders in Greece in order to implement, to design, implement an integrated strategy and action plan. We also need assistance in establishing suitable schemes and a simple and robust social impact reporting system.
Thank you. So very clear recommendations there, and I'm very struck. Giuseppe, I mean, the Italian cooperatives have a huge history and a lot of depth, but perhaps this perception, which I think Olga was alluding to, that some people say, well, it's just filling the gap that governments are not now stepping into in terms of public services, instead of seeing it as a positive, maybe more as a negative. How important do you believe it will be in terms of this change, this fundamental change, and what for you are the key lessons that we need to build on?
Intanto io comincio col dire che è solo in parte vero che le cooperative sociali, le imprese sociali in Italia hanno occupato uno spazio di inefficacia della pubblica amministrazione, ma in realtà quando si sono sviluppate, quando sono nate, hanno realizzato una vera e propria innovazione dal punto di vista sociale, andando ad esplorare delle aree di bisogno che non erano ancora esplorate. Quindi in realtà c'è una funzione di stimolo e di costruzione di una dimensione di mercato. Quando sono partite le prime cooperative sociali, nessuno immaginava che quello sarebbe diventato un mercato che oggi è indicato nei mercati guida dell'Unione Europea, da cui ci si aspetta uno sviluppo di occupazione importante, no? Sulle professioni di cura, sulle professioni nell'ambiente, sulle professioni nella cultura, sulle professioni del riuso, del riciclo dei materiali. Questo e quindi è una capacità di innovazione economica e sociale molto rilevante che hanno dimostrato le cooperative, e questo è un apprendimento utile che io credo che la Commissione abbia dimostrato di saper recepire proprio anche grazie all'iniziativa che è stata intrapresa. Una battuta voglio farla sulla questione dei finanziamenti. Un dato che potete trovare confermato dalle ricerche della Banca d'Italia nel nostro paese, ma poi abbiamo dati simili anche in altri paesi, è che in realtà il credit default, cioè la perdita su crediti dati a imprese sociali dal sistema bancario italiano, è irrilevante. Siamo a percentuali che non arrivano al 2%, cosa che non ha uguali nel resto del sistema delle imprese, quindi c'è un'efficacia e un'affidabilità elevatissima, tant'è che in termini un po' di provocazione mi viene da dire è il sistema della finanza che ha bisogno della reputazione, della capacità, della credibilità, dell'etica delle imprese sociali per fare investimenti su cui... E questo è uno dei grandi apprendimenti, e su questo io voglio fare una grande raccomandazione ai commissari europei e alle istituzioni europee. Noi abbiamo costruito questa grandissima esperienza che io trovo formidabile del mercato unico, della mobilità dei cittadini e delle merci, sul quale bisogna andare avanti. Però oggi serve una Europa con una dimensione sociale più forte. Bisogna che ci sia un riequilibrio fra la religione come dire, monocratica e fortissima, orientata alla politica della concorrenza, che deve bilanciarsi con la politica della coesione, e su questo le imprese sociali possono fare moltissimo sul piano dei risultati economici e sul piano dei risultati sociali.
Okay, grazie mille. I want to just follow up and begin now as we move towards the end of this discussion to identify some priorities for the future. But first, do you have any questions for the social entrepreneurs? Commissioner, please. Tajani first.
No, but I want to answer on the question on our initiative for the future. She asked, we need more initiative by European Commission. We are working a lot, but also there are a lot of money for this sector in next financial perspective. Not only within our packages, but also within regional funds. It's possible to utilize in the next years also the regional funds. If we want to strengthen this sector, we need more money coming from regional funds. It's possible to do it in national situation. For this is important, as Letizia Morazzi said, to work also at national level. We are ready. The President Barroso is strongly engaged on this. Laszlo, Michel and I, we are working on this. As I said, I will present new rules in this year for the US sector. The European Commission approved the public procurement, new rules on public procurement also for this sector. I think this is a strong and political message. I totally agree, finally, with you on our engagement. It is important to balance the pillar we need to reduce the public debt, but in the same time, it's important to work in favor of real economy. Real economy is internal market, it's industrial policy, it's our action in favor of small and medium-sized companies, also in favor of your sector. For this is important to balance. I totally agree with you. For this, the next European Council will be very important because I hope a good solution with an industrial compact. Near the fiscal compact, we need an industrial compact.
Thank you very much indeed. Of course, that discussion now postponed from the February summit to the March one, but nevertheless still on the agenda. Commissioner Barnier, did you have a question for our social entrepreneurs or something you wanted to comment on?
Nous n'avons pas à Bruxelles la science infuse. Hein. On n'a pas toujours raison. Donc, je veux simplement dire au début de ces 2 journées d'écoute et de débat que nous serons tous les 3 et nos collaborateurs extrêmement attentifs aux idées, aux critiques, aux suggestions, aux propositions. 2, je veux marquer mon accord avec ce qui a été dit à propos du secteur bancaire. Il faut que les banques recommencent à faire leur travail, qui est de prêter aux entreprises et à l'économie réelle. Et qu'elles fassent sans doute moins de spéculation. Tout ce que nous avons fait depuis 4 ans, jour et nuit, a été de rebâtir un cadre pour que les bases des services financiers des banques soient plus saines, robustes, transparentes. Je dis, et je pèse mes mots, qu'on remette un peu de morale et d'éthique là où elles avaient disparu. Et ça veut dire des choses très concrètes, notamment pour les petites et moyennes entreprises. Avec Antonio, par exemple, quand il est agi de présenter ce que j'ai fait, là, les règles de Bâle pour les mesures prudentielles pour le secteur des 8000 banques européennes dans le marché unique, nous avons mis des dispositions, ça n'a pas été si facile, précises, des mesures prudentielles moins sévères pour les banques quand elles prêtent aux PME. C'est toute cette machine qui a été bloquée par la crise qui redémarre. Mais maintenant, le moment est revenu, où est venu que les banques refassent leur travail. Et puis je vais dire un dernier mot, parce que c'était le sens de votre observation. Mesdames, Messieurs, ma conviction, c'est que pendant 30 ans, l'Europe, gauche et droite confondues, ont dérivé vers les rivages de l'ultralibéralisme. Dans le grand vent de la mondialisation, on a pensé que la dérégulation, l'autorégulation, l'absence de transparence, tout ça allait favoriser la croissance. Ça a marché quelquefois. La croissance est en effet venue de cette mondialisation, mais avec des abus, des excès, des manipulations dont on a vu les dégâts considérables, notamment pour les plus faibles, avec la crise financière. Ça suffit. Ça suffit. Et donc ce que nous sommes en train de faire, ne vous trompez pas, et nous avons eu le soutien du président Barroso pour le faire, ça a été de corriger la ligne et de revenir vers l'économie sociale de marché, plutôt que de laisser la dérive se continuer vers l'ultralibéralisme. Et ce n'est pas fini, il faut être vigilant. Et moi, ce que j'attends de ce rendez-vous de Strasbourg et des prochains grands rendez-vous que nous aurons, notamment avec les citoyens, c'est qu'on garde ce cap de l'économie sociale de marché compétitive, dont, je pense, l'entrepreneuriat social est une part importante.
C'est dans le texte du traité, hein, c'est pas quelque chose, excusez-moi, parce que quand on parle de ce sujet, on oublie toujours que l'économie sociale de marché est dans le texte du traité. Donc il faut le défendre. Certaines fois, on l'oublie. Quand on essaie de s'engager dans une politique de la concurrence qui est la politique de concurrence d'il y a 50 ans, pas la politique de la concurrence face à la globalisation. Quand on fait de la politique ultralibérale, que ce n'est pas la politique de l'Union européenne, il ne faut jamais oublier qu'il faut défendre les traités. La Commission doit défendre les traités. Donc je partage ta position, Michel, sur ce qui concerne l'économie sociale des marchés.
Any questions for each other before we try to wrap up and draw some conclusions from this discussion? Does anyone have a question or a comment to what you have heard? Commissioner Andor?
I should just top up what my colleagues said and, to just echo that indeed it's not the social model of Europe which caused this very long and extraordinary crisis. It's the business model which existed before this crisis time, the financial sector, and Michel has done a lot of work in order to repair this financial sector. Antonio has done a lot to boost the industrial policy, to strengthen this productive base of the European Union in all countries. And I think in full consistency, I have been working to boost social investment. 1 year ago, we produced a social investment package full of concrete possibilities to support the member states in this area, to address such challenges like homelessness in countries, or people with disabilities, and boost the capacity of various sectors to integrate them, not only by providing assistance, but also providing jobs, employment, because that creates a more sustainable living. And we know that this work is not completed. To reconstruct, to rebuild this business model of the European Union, it has to continue, and we should take advantage of the Greek presence and the very strong Italian presence, because these are the two presidencies of 2014. And these two presidencies, which will host and promote a lot of discussions this year, will have to ensure that this approach, which the three of us represented, will also be inherited and taken over by the next European Parliament and the next European Commission. I think this is a very, very important task.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would like to draw from our social entrepreneurs in a moment a key message they would like to send to the next EU leadership, but we'll come to that. We just have a few minutes left, and I would just like to try and draw some conclusions. So I'll stay with you if I could, Commissioner Andor, then Commissioner Barnier, Tajani, and then the social entrepreneurs. My question to you, Commissioners, and please, 1 minute only replies. We have heard a lot about the innovative nature of this event, this full participation, very interactive. You're all going to have an amazing time this afternoon and tomorrow sharing your ideas. Why is it so important to have this discussion? And what for you, Commissioner Barnier just referred to one of the things he wants to come out of this event, but what do you hope will come out of this 2 days? A thought from you, Commissioner Andor, then Commissioner Barnier and Tajani, and then a different question to the social entrepreneurs. Commissioner Andor first.
Well, for me, it's very important to highlight the excellent examples which provide the inspiration. And this afternoon I will meet a representative of a project which I already visited in Madrid, an excellent example which I would say delivers what we always said in the Europe 2020 strategy: smart, sustainable and inclusive growth. And all elements can be found in it. I think we have to foster the commitment to these objectives, not to step back when we see difficulties, but ensure that those who can do it on the ground will receive the necessary support.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Barnier.
J'attends de cet événement que la preuve soit faite, j'espère de manière durable, que l'Europe s'intéresse à ce secteur de l'économie solidaire et de l'entreprise sociale. Et j'attends aussi, et vous attendez de l'Union européenne, des institutions que nous représentons, le Parlement, le Conseil des ministres, le président Samaras était là ce matin et par son message, et de la Commission, que nous organisions ce qui est une des vocations de l'Union européenne, c'est-à-dire l'échange de bonnes pratiques, l'information mutuelle, l'unité dans la diversité. Ça veut dire qu'on se rencontre, on se parle, grâce aux interprètes d'ailleurs dans toutes les langues, ou pratiquement toutes les langues, et qu'on peut s'expliquer, comprendre ce qui se passe, ce qui a été fait d'utile ailleurs, le mettre en œuvre chez soi, et puis ensuite trouver des points communs, ou des problèmes communs, ou des demandes communes que vous présentez. Et nous serons à l'écoute. Voilà ce que j'attends de cette...
Merci beaucoup. Vice President Tajani.
Io condivido le aspettative di Laszlo e quelle di Michel. Aggiungo un altro elemento. Questi 2 giorni, con una partecipazione così numerosa di operatori nel settore della cooperazione sociale, deve poter lanciare un messaggio anche attraverso la nostra presenza, anche attraverso quello che ha detto il Presidente Barroso a tutti quanti, anche la presenza della stampa, che l'Europa non è soltanto la finanza, che l'Europa non è soltanto la moneta, che l'Europa non è soltanto le banche, ma l'Europa è anche una realtà dove si condividono valori e non si può dar vita ad una cooperativa sociale se non c'è qualche cosa dentro. L'obiettivo di una cooperativa sociale certo è quella di creare lavoro, ma è un'impresa che è in grado anche di offrire della solidarietà. L'Europa non può essere soltanto l'Europa che chiede sacrifici ai cittadini. L'Europa non può essere soltanto l'Europa della Troica, l'Europa è anche quella che offre una seconda chance a un cittadino, l'Europa è quella che tende la mano a chi è più debole. Allora soltanto così potremo costruire qualche cosa di nuovo. Noi abbiamo bisogno di cambiare l'Europa ha bisogno anche un po' di essere ristrutturata e da questi 2 giorni può partire anche un messaggio legato ai valori fondamentali attorno ai quali è nata l'Europa. L'Europa non è la moneta, l'Europa sono 500 milioni di persone che hanno un comune sentire, che è anche quello di andare verso chi è più debole.
Okay, grazie mille. You talk about a message there. So my question to you, social entrepreneurs, is you heard earlier from Maria about the Strasbourg Declaration, the messages that will go out from this gathering to the policymakers at European level and hopefully even wider than that. But if you, and very briefly if you would, we're almost out of time, Olga, Letizia and then Giuseppe, one message that you would like to see included in that declaration, what would it be?
What we believe is the sine qua non of developing and scaling social entrepreneurship is a clear set of values, as the Commissioner said. The principles of solidarity, of proliferative synergies, of sustainable growth, and the political empowerment of socially excluded persons.
Thank you very much indeed. Letizia.
Io credo che l'Europa dovrebbe riprendere un ruolo che le compete anche nel mondo e quindi farsi anche portatrice di un messaggio che vada oltre i confini europei. Penso al tema degli indicatori. Noi non possiamo più avere degli indicatori che misurano solo la ricchezza fisica. Il PIL non è più sufficiente. Io credo che dobbiamo andare verso indicatori del benessere sociale e quindi l'auspicio è che l'Europa si faccia promotrice di proporre l'indicatore del benessere sociale e quindi a loro volta poi le imprese sociali possano beneficiare di tutti quei sostegni che non sono sostegni di tipo assistenziale, sono solo un supporto perché possano continuare a dare quei servizi, a fornire quel supporto a tutte quelle persone che ne hanno bisogno e la coesione sociale è un valore che l'Europa ha e non può e non deve perdere.
Grazie mille. To you, L'ultima parola.
Sì, perfetto, grazie davvero. Io credo che ci siano, è importante che si prosegua sulla strada aperta dalla Social Business Initiative, cioè le 11 azioni chiave hanno ancora molto da realizzare, molto da esprimere. Un risultato molto importante è stato ottenuto ieri con l'approvazione del Parlamento, lo ricordava il commissario Barnier, della nuova direttiva appalti, e lì viene citata la possibilità di fare gare riservate per le imprese sociali che fanno inserimento lavorativo. Questo è un successo enorme che apre una strada e un'idea di un mercato pubblico responsabile che dà la possibilità di cominciare a bilanciare questo rapporto fra concorrenza e coesione sociale. Serve una politica di questo genere anche sulla dimensione fiscale. Ora è in corso di revisione il sistema dell'IVA, della TVA a livello europeo, dell'IVA agevolata. È fondamentale che le imprese vengano trattate da imprese, quindi abbiano la possibilità di lavorare nel regime IVA, ma con un regime IVA agevolato che premi la funzione pubblica che esse realizzano. Questa è una richiesta molto concreta che noi facciamo e che potrebbe stare nella conclusione.
Grazie mille. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for, but we said earlier the point of the sessions in this room, the plenary sessions, is to give you inspiration for your discussions. I'm sure you will agree, tremendous inspiration, lots more to discuss, but for now, will you join me in thanking our social entrepreneurs and the commissioners very much indeed. Thank you to you all. Please.